We may disagree on what will happen to us after we die in the afterlife, but what we can all observe in life and we all agree on is that there is suffering here and there is death. 50 years of living on planet Earth, here is what I discovered. I'm Theresa Khalil, a writer, a documentary filmmaker from Egypt. I spent most of my life in the Arabic world and now I live in Europe. Something that people say and I disagree with is that everything happened for a reason. And let me tell you that this video is going to have a lot of stories because this is what I do. I tell stories, real stories. So it never made sense to me that everything happened for a reason. And I think this idea that everything happened for a reason is complicating people's lives. In my opinion, few things happen for a reason. So, for example, once I was couch surfing in London and I met a woman from Nigeria. She was hosted by the same man who was hosting me as well. And then we went out together. We had a good time around London. And everyone went his own way, as usually happen with couch surfers. But then a few years later, when I got married and I went for my honeymoon to Malta, I discovered that she was there as well, and we met and we had nice time. So I may say that when I met her in London, that this was for the reason that she will be in Malta when I met her the second time. But this doesn't mean that everything in our lives happened for a reason. As you know, I do listening sessions, and in one of those sessions, someone told me that she's working this job that she hates for many years now, and she feels that, she doesn't know what is the reason or what is this going to lead to, and also she didn't know if she quit now and do something else, then what will be the point of the job that she did? It doesn't make sense, yeah? And that's when finding a reason can complicate your life. It is as simple as you are done with this job, you just move on to something that you feel you want to do now. Not everything has to lead to something. Not everything has to be a step on a way towards a certain destination. And I was also listening to someone who was in high school, and she told me that she doesn't know what to choose, which career and what to study, and that she has a lot of options and she's really confused because she doesn't want to go in one direction and then change later. And so I told her about this story of Steve Jobs when he was taking a course at university to study fonts, how to make fonts, and he didn't know at that moment what he's going to do with it. But then later on, when he started Apple, what was so special about Apple is that they had very different and unique fonts, and fonts were their point of strength. And Steve Jobs was telling this story to prove that, he took this course not knowing what is the reason, and then it turned out that it helped him in the future. But this doesn't mean anything, because how many courses did Steve Jobs take? How many activities did he get involved into? And just this one clicked. What about the hundreds others that he did and nothing happened from them? And because I was interested in his life story, I found that when he got sick, he was trying to heal himself naturally. He followed the fruitarian diet and tried many other things, and they didn't work out. He died at the end, which will happen to everyone. So this idea, when you try to find a meaning, find a reason for everything, why that, why this, which actually I'm a big questioner if you follow me on this channel. I'm someone who questions all the time. But I came to peace with the idea that not everything need to have a meaning or a reason. When you reach this, you will feel much better. You will feel much in peace because you don't have to all the time connect the dots. Soon I'm going to tell you how I deal with suffering, but the reason why everyone talk about everything happens for a reason is because this is the nature of the human mind, You need to connect the dots all the time, find meaning so that you can predict the future and you can protect yourself, survive. So that's how your brain works, you know. Oh, why is this? Why is that? This happened. So maybe it's related to that. And you start connecting things and try to find a conclusion or a meaning. But it doesn't mean that everything happens in life happens for a reason. I would say few things happen for a reason. And the reason will be so clear to you, just like this story of Steve Jobs and the fonts. And this brings us to something that they say in Egypt when it comes to suffering, you know, as we all suffer and people want sometimes comfort, want someone to tell them something that makes them feel better. So they say in Egypt that every person has 24 kirat, which means it may seem that someone, for example, has bad health, but probably they would have something good, like, for example, a good social life or a good financial status. And it doesn't mean that you are rich, that you have it all. You also will have, for example, problems with your health. Or so it means that we are all suffering. We are all are suffering equally, and it's just the you may not notice it because you need to look at the person's all the aspects of his life, and then you will find that actually you are equal. He's like you. It doesn't mean that he's struggling financially, is that his health is the best, or something will be lacking. Okay, so each one is lacking something, and at the end we are all equal. So this is the what they say 24 kirat. Each one has his 24 kirat. No, I don't think so. From just little observations in life, you will find that definitely there are people who suffer much more than others. I made a documentary with Gabor, who was born blind, and the documentary, it's here on the channel. And it's not only that he was born blind, which is a challenge that he's trying to overcome and live a more normal life as possible. But something I didn't mention in the film because I felt it would be too much suffering is that he has also when he was born, he had a lot of complications, and he's struggling with his digestion and with eating, and is it's not only that he was born blind, and also he was struggling financially, of course, because you know it's not always easy for someone blind to find a job. And then I had another documentary with Eric, for example, also on the channel. And Eric was, yeah, he had also some challenges. He was stuttering and he wanted to become an actor. But when you compare the two kinds of suffering, there is for sure a difference. So there are people who are lucky, who don't suffer. They suffer, of course, everyone is suffering, but some people don't suffer as much as others. And that's how some people say that, for example, you may be suffering like this because you did something in your previous life. So that's one of the explanations when people found that, oh, there are people who actually go through difficult things, more difficult than others. And then they thought, maybe it's because in their previous life they did something terrible. And the downside of this is that you feel when something bad happened to you, you feel that it's your responsibility, you know? It's on you. You did something wrong in your previous life, or maybe in this life. It's karma. And of course, this make you feel bad about yourself, you know? Oh, I'm being punished for what I did. While in Christianity, for example, it means that God is testing your faith. And in Islam, you are being tested so you can be judged in the afterlife, where to go, heaven or hell. So yeah, so there are a lot of explanations for suffering in order for you to get in peace with it. But this reminds me of the book I read, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff and It's All Small Stuff, and how he said that an important thing for you to come in peace with this reality of life is to accept the fact that life is not fair. So yeah, there are people who suffer more, there are people who suffer less. If it makes you more comfortable, the idea that you are punished for something you did before, a karma. Good for you. For me, it doesn't explain it. And I remember I was thinking, okay, if this karma is going on and I'm here punished and suffering in this life because of something I did in a previous life, what about the first time I came to life? And I remember someone asked this question to Sadhguru, and he was like, if this is the first time I come to life, what am I being punished for?
In one of your video you mentioned, and also it is said in Buddhism, that rebirth is due to our unfulfilled desire or karma. I accept this, but then a question arises. Let us suppose I took birth for millions of times because of my karma desire, but before my very first birth, there was no body, no mind, karma, desire, or nothing of me existed. Then why and how that very first birth came to existence?
And Sadhguru went up and down, left and right, was talking for half an hour, and at the end, he actually didn't have an answer.
Now, even I'm wondering about that about you.
But yeah, if you believe, if it makes you comfortable to believe that you are suffering because your faith is being tested, that's amazing. I also saw someone posting on Facebook, which was saying, I want to thank God so much because He stood with me in this difficulty I was going through. And I just didn't understand it. I mean, if you believe that God brought on you this difficulty, how come you thank Him for standing by you when you are going through it? It's for me like someone punched you in the face and then he brought you ice. Like, will you thank Him? Oh, thank you so much. Now, how am I dealing with suffering? Huh? So for me, and I've been going through very challenging times. I was 5 years in bed, I couldn't walk. And of course, I have a story with Joe Dispenza and how I healed and how was able to walk again with the Joe Dispenza teachings and work. But for me, even before discovering Joe Dispenza, you need to accept what you are going through. So that's the first thing in suffering, is to surrender. Huh? Yeah, this is happening. For example, I can't walk. I was in bed. I was trying to enjoy my time in bed. And on my Arabic channel, I just made a video about one of the things I was doing when I was in bed. And I think there is English subtitle, but I'm not sure how good it is. So that is the first thing to face suffering is just to accept that it's happening and then to take it one moment by one moment, one day at a time, and try to make it as better as possible, as less suffering as possible. One of the important things also when it comes to suffering I saw in the film that I keep watching over and over again, which is Castaway for Tom Hanks, when he was talking about when he was on the island trying to survive, and all what he had in mind is that he should keep breathing. Keep breathing. And then when they saved him and he went back to his normal life, he also found that he should keep breathing. So this is also something that I do when it comes to suffering, is to breathe. Keep breathing until you can't. Keep breathing until you can't. Another important thing is that when I was suffering, I was talking to listeners and therapists. The idea is that when you have things inside your head, this will cause you more suffering. Sometimes when you share what you have inside your head with someone and you get it out, things may be clearer, and also you will just feel better. You will feel like a burden has lifted. So this is what I do. I do listening sessions. I will leave a link if you are interested, if you have something in your mind and you want to share it with someone, and you're looking for a safe space to share without judgment. This is what I do. Also, if you have a story that you want to tell and you don't know how to do that in a video or a film, I also can help you with that. I will leave a link as well. And an important thing is to not be afraid, not to be scared. And I'm someone who lived with fear for, I think I have fear engraved in me since even before I was born, because my mother, when she was pregnant with me, she had to leave my father, travel in an aeroplane from Sudan, and the aeroplane catch fire in the air, and it was shaking, and my mother was, of course, terrified the plane was falling. So I was in her belly when this happened. And then, of course, she didn't die at that moment. And I was born, and I lived my life with an abusive father who was just like the emotion that was controlling my childhood was fear. And then as I started living more and more, I discovered that actually fear is one of the main emotions that is controlling everything in my life. And I think each person has one of those negative emotions that is controlling them. Maybe it's guilt. I see some people, they have guilt all the time. There are people who have jealousy. So for me, it is fear. And I faced my fear before on this channel, if you want to see what I did. Another thing important when it comes to the life we are living and how to, let's say, leave it in peace as much as possible is to not import fights and problems from other parts of the world. So I'm admin of the expat group here in Zagreb, and this is the neighbor's dog. And when there was this conflict between Israel and Hamas and all that, and some people wanted to post on the group of Zagreb, free Palestine, you know, I never allowed it. Why? Because this part of the world, Croatia and Yugoslavia and all those, they had their share of misery and suffering and war in the 90s. And it is just bizarre how you, after now they're living in peace and everything is fine, how that some people want to import other problems, other fights from other parts of the world to here. And I see many people are doing that. When you are living and your life already have peace, why would you go and import problems from other parts of the world? Yeah, are you okay? Part of our family was in Sudan. And you know, Sudan also had a war recently. They still have a war. And what our family did is that they left. They moved to Egypt, you know? It's as simple as that. You have conflict, you have problems, you just move away. And that's important when you are facing suffering, is that you try to avoid conflict. Even if someone is in front of you yelling at you, you don't respond. And that's how the problem will disappear. I was telling a story of mine on my Arabic channel about when I was in Upper Egypt and I was in second grade, and some of my colleagues, you know, Upper Egypt, violence and bullying is just, you are lucky if you are just being bullied. So there was those boys who wanted to beat me up for no reason. And I was always running from school to home, running after we finished the day, because I didn't want them to catch me. And I had no idea why they want to beat me up. And I think they also had no idea why they wanted to beat me up. Once they caught me, you know, and they pushed me to the wall, and there were about, I don't know how many, four of them or something. And one of them held me like that. And he was yelling at me. And all what I did was, I closed my eyes and I stopped breathing. I mean, he's in front of me, he's holding me already. So I just didn't do any reaction, and then they just got bored and they left, you know? So those are my techniques when it comes to facing suffering. Accepting, surrendering, trying to enjoy and deal with the problem moment by moment or day by day and not think too much about the future. Stop connecting the dots. Don't try to find meaning in everything. And of course, it is sarcastic that I'm saying that when I'm on a journey to understand life, and one of the important questions I ask people is, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of life? If you are not following my journey, it's here on this channel. It started with a documentary film called The Scrapbook of Life, Wang Sung Yang, and then it continued as a podcast. After 50 years of living in life, that's how I deal with suffering. And tell me, do you agree? Do you disagree? I have no issues with discussions in the comments. If you think that everything happened for a reason, then you can explain your point of view. And I'm open to changing my mind. See you in a coming video.